I needed to find 8 hours every week for the next 9 months for a massive project I committed to. And I had two choices. Number one, burn myself out trying to just get it done, or get really strategic about where that time would actually come from. Guys, most women, when facing a big new commitment, challenge, project, etc., immediately think, I'll just figure out how to get it done, which then turns into working late, making sacrifices, maybe sacrificing their weekends, and getting completely burnt out. Think about it. Your plate is already full. Every time you take on a new big project, you're just adding more to it. At some point, things are going to start falling off, right? This is exactly what I want to cover here in this video today. So I was recently presented with an opportunity to make a commitment on something that was going to require me to spend at least 8 hours a week on a really intensive project that would need my best brain power for about 9 months. So I knew at this point, again, because of my background and expertise in time management and productivity, that the only way this was going to get done was really assessing how exactly am I going to get really strategic to free up 8 hours of an already full week, week over week, to make this happen. So today I'm going to be sharing with you the 4-step process that I used that is actually now freeing up 8 hours a week without me having to completely change my lifestyle, start waking up at 4 a.m., etc. All right. So the very first step, step one in this process, and this is something anybody and everybody can use. This is the step nobody wants to do, but without this, you cannot do steps 2, 3, and 4. I did a brutally honest 2-week time audit. All right, now, what is a time audit? It's exactly what it sounds like. I essentially wrote down exactly how I was spending my time every day over the course of 2 weeks, from when I woke up in the morning to when I went to bed at night. Now, people always ask, like, how do you do that? Is there an app or a tool that I need? Don't overthink this. Here's what I do whenever I am doing a time audit. I actually pull out blank pages in the weekly planner, the planner that I use, which is the top planner. It's the planner I built, so obviously it's one that I stand by and love. And I just pull out a blank spread and I lay it right here on my desk. As I execute my day, I've got a pencil, and every 30 minutes to an hour or so, I am writing down what I did. Now, when I say don't overthink it, right? If I just spent 30 minutes on email, I'm not writing down the name of every single person that I emailed, right? I'm just putting in, okay, 30 minutes email. If I am working on my regular recurring tasks for the business and I spend an hour on that, I put in there, regular tasks, hour. Okay. So I'm really grouping together the types of work that I am doing. Here's what's important with a time audit. You're tracking where your time actually goes, not where you think it goes. And if you do not do this, you are not going to make the right choices to figure out how to free up your time. Now, the results of my time audit, I do this at least once a year, every year, but I haven't done a 2-week in-depth one at this level in quite some time. And there were some blind spots, right? There were places where half an hour spots throughout the day were just kind of gone into the, ethernet of, I'm not really sure what I was doing, right? There was just a half an hour of nothing really intentional. And in those spots, I just put a question mark. That's step one. Is you've got to assess, where is your time going today? If you don't know where it's going, then you're not going to be able to make the decisions of, where exactly am I finding 8 hours a week to work on this project? Now, step two, I did in tandem to my time audit. Over the course of that 2-week time audit, as I was tracking where my time was going, and I was tracking both work and personal, okay? I had a separate piece of paper out, and you could do this just on a Google Doc or whatever. And as I was executing my life, I was jotting down anything that I was spending time on that did not have to be me. Meaning, I could hire this out. I could have asked somebody else to do it, right? I mean, just think about around your house. Does laundry have to be me? No, that is something that, you could outsource. Now, for me, when I think of things like taking my child to the doctor, that is an only me task. Like I would not want to outsource that. That's something I'm going to do. So I started writing down all the things that I spend time on that really does not have to be me, both personally and at home and at work. Some other examples, things like recording a podcast. That has to be me. I am the voice of the podcast. It's my intellectual property. Making these YouTube videos, that has to be only me. But there were so many things, because I haven't done this in-depth audit in a while, that had fallen into the trap of, oh, it only takes 5 to 10 minutes. It's just easier if I do it. And the list of all the things that I was regularly spending time on, right? I'm not talking about these one-offs, but over the course of 2 weeks, I spent time on it multiple times, was pretty significant of everything that I wrote down that really doesn't have to be me. All right. So that was step 2. So step 1, we've done our time audit. So now we know where our time is going. Step 2, we've got the list of where am I spending time that honestly does not need to be me. Now, the third step in here is kind of combining these two together. All right. And for everything that did not need to be me, by leveraging my time audit, I wrote down next to each one of those, how long do each one of those take? Right? So over the course of a week or 2-week period, how much of my time was going to things that did not have to be me? And guess what? That number was well over 8 hours a week. And I promise you, if you were to do this exercise, you will see the same thing. Now, before we move into step 4, I know you've got the questions going, right? Well, okay, but it's not that simple. Like I can't just hire someone to come do my laundry. I'm not in a position to just outsource, all the stuff around my house, or I'm a new business owner. I don't have the funds to go hire 3 new people to take some of the work that I'm doing off my plate. I get that. So this leads us to kind of this next part of step 3, right? Is when I looked at the things that did not need to be me and how long they took, next to each one, I wrote down 3 possibilities. I either wrote down, this is something that could be streamlined, meaning the way I'm doing it, like there are more efficient ways, leveraging automation, leveraging technology, potentially AI, maybe doing it instead of touching it every single day. Maybe I just do it once a week and spend less time on it, right? So I looked at that to say, okay, are there things I'm spending time on that could be streamlined? The second category, what on this list could be outsourced? Like easily outsourced, right? Something that wouldn't take a really hard to figure out. So a lot of, house chores, those could be outsourced. Running errands, outsourced. Now, when I say outsourced, I'm not necessarily meaning you're hiring someone, right? It could be within your own home. There is stuff on this list that just default falls to me. I've never said anything about it, but I'm realizing it doesn't have to be me. Other people that live in this house with me, that's another flavor of outsourcing, right? Trading services, another flavor of outsourcing. So either streamline it, a good candidate for outsourcing, or the third category, this is something I just put pause on and I no longer do for the next 9 months. Meaning there were some projects that I was working on that aren't as important as this, right? That's a candidate to say, you know what? I'm going to put that project on pause for 9 months because maybe putting that project on pause frees up 2 hours of my week every week, right? That's 25% of those 8 hours. So once you've done your time audit, you've got your list of everything that doesn't have to be you with how long those take. Now we look at it under the lens of streamline it, outsource it, or pause it. The final step here is now creating your execution plan, right? And this is where people get stuck. It's one thing to do the analysis. It's one thing to make the list. But now, what are you going to do about it? What changes are you making to free up the 8 hours? The way I worked through this is I looked at what next to it had pause. What was low-hanging fruit for me to say, you know what, I don't need to spend my energy here right now. And when I looked at all of those, it was a very obvious list of things that freed up 2 of those 8 hours that I was looking for. Now, I'm going to start back up on those projects when this one is done, but I've decided this is more important. That's the easy, the low-hanging fruit on your execution plan. Now, let's talk about the things that have streamline next to it. All right, if you're making the decision that you are still owning this, but there are ways for you to streamline it, now you need to actually discover how. How are you streamlining it? And if it means that you're going to be, building an automation or implementing some new tech, well, then guess what? You now need to put that as an appointment in your calendar to say, okay, when am I streamlining that? And my best advice is you streamline it the next time you execute it. So I had one thing on my list. I was like, this could totally be streamlined with how I'm doing it today. So I knew next week when I sat down to do this task that only takes about 15 minutes, but I do it 3 times a week. So it was going to be another 45 minutes. I said, you know what? The first time I do it next week, I'm going to block off an hour to just sit down and build the automations to streamline this. So I'm going to take that 45-minute hit up front, week 1, to then streamline this. And now what was taking me 45 minutes a week is down to 10. So now I've just freed up another half an hour. All right. So for the things that are streamlining, you need to now build into your plan. And I want you to do this over the next 2 to 3 weeks, right? Actually execute on the streamlining. Now, for the outsourcing part of it, this is the one that may take a little longer. So I put mine into 2 buckets. What are the household stuff that is going to be more of a transfer of ownership that doesn't involve hiring anybody with my family? And we sat down as part of our weekly family meeting and I presented this to them. Like they know I'm working on this project. They know how important it is. And I was like, here's the deal, right? There is about an hour and a half worth of work I'm doing every week here for our house that I need that for this project. So we collectively agreed on how we were dividing this up. And other members of my household are going to be taking over those responsibilities to support me on this project. So now we're already at 4 of my 8 hours. So with the outsourcing, I then looked at what was left and I've said, okay, I now need to hire someone. It's going to be a very unique hire to be able to lump up a chunk of these other tasks that doesn't need to be me, that I can't really, transfer ownership here inside my house. And I'm going to hire someone to do this. I know it's easier said than done, right? Because not everyone feels, hey, I'm in the financial space to do that. Well, this is where you will need to, get creative in terms of one of the things that I'm doing is I assessed where is our money going right now? How much am I going to need to spend to hire that person? Okay, what can I stop spending money on to free up the funds to help pay for that person? Right? So I promise you, you can always get more creative about the outsourcing them than you think that you can. But if you're only analyzing it and then you're not executing, then you're not going to be freeing that up. Realistically, from start to finish, from the time audit to when I hope to have this person hired, because I just did this, it's going to be a 6 to 8 week window. Part of it's already in motion. I've already got those 4 hours off my plate. I'm expecting, it'll take me a little while to find the right person and get them trained. But I would much rather be uncomfortable for just a few weeks and then have that time freed up moving forward, as opposed to struggling through working on this project for 9 months. All right, guys, the lie that we tell ourselves over and over again is that we can just fit it in, or I'll just dig deep. Now, I don't mind digging deep for a 2-week stretch, but for 9 months, no thank you. The truth is you're going to have to make choices, right? You can only fit so much on your plate. And when you make those conscious choices, like I've been doing, it feels so much better than just letting overwhelm sneak on in and take over the wheel. All right. Now, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about my fundamental planning systems, it's what we call the TOP framework. TOP stands for time management, organization, and productivity. And really learning more about how these systems get you out of overwhelm, get you back to a place of a sustainable life and actually having time for yourself again, I strongly recommend you go download my free app that's in both the App Store and Google Play. It's called the Pink Bee It's all one word. You'll see a pink bee icon on there. And when you go do that, you'll see I've got 2 free mini courses for you waiting in there. One is going to introduce you to the top framework, and it's going to give you a little flavor of what this new way of planning actually looks like. All right, friends, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you back here real soon.